the cycles are the one thing that we see all throughout life, whether it's professionally in finance or whether it's our heartbeats, whether it's Mother Nature in our seasonal patterns, um, whether it's our circadian rhythm during the day. And so, the one thing that seems to be true and constant throughout most paradigms is the fact of cyclicality. Things happen in cycles. There's not a lot of straight lines.
Now, I know we're talking about finance. We always, kind of talk about finance and other things in national news and in Texas. But one of the big stories right now is the BlackRock and Vanguard. They're accused of violating antitrust laws by the state of Texas. What's going on here? Like, what is your take on this situation?
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating story, and basically the accusation is that the money management firms, um, they're colluding. So the claim is they're colluding in order to lower, for example, coal production. So in Texas, and Texas, proud state, energy is vital, and I believe that as little as maybe 5 years ago, about a fifth of the energy in Texas was produced via coal, maybe a little less, maybe around 18% or so. Um, and that's come down by maybe 50%, right? And so it's about half of what it used to be. And they're alleging that it is in part due to collusion by the money managers. Uh, and they're using a tool called ESG, or a scam called ESG, which at the very, let's say, initial level seems like a great thing because it's in the name of protecting Mother Earth, which, of course, how could you not want to? And I certainly want to, but I don't. I think the closer you look, the further you dig, the more you realize that this is just a way to make money. These money managers are also going to make money through these carbon tax credits, which is a whole other new marketplace, which wouldn't exist if it were not for this trend.
That's going on. Now, I know we were talking about the Texas Stock Exchange, which BlackRock and Vanguard are part of. Is this going to affect that from getting off the ground, or what do you think is going to happen?
I think that this could be good for the Texas Stock Exchange because I think it's going to draw attention to not only the monopoly, almost, or an oligopoly that exists on Wall Street, but it's going to also draw attention to the fact that, look, if you have the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, and the NASDAQ is known for the tech listings. And if you look at their system, when was the last time it was updated? They're on old, what a tech engineer, software engineer might refer to as very primitive technology based on what is available today. Now, why don't they upgrade their systems? Well, what's their motive? They have an oligopoly. They got the whole world by the proverbial balls. And so, until and unless there's competition, they don't have an incentive to upgrade. And that's what happens. And that's why we have these laws that are supposed to protect against monopolies and oligopolies. And it's in order to encourage fair competition. And I think the Texas Stock Exchange is going to be some of the most fair competition in finance that we've seen in quite some time.
So this isn't going to hinder that. This would probably only help it in some ways.
I think so. I think it's going to help in the sense that the people that are understanding the compliance cost and the non-financial sense of some of these ESG policies, and they're based on pseudoscience for the most part. I think there was record low temperatures in Iceland just last week, and so what we have to understand is that everything happens in cycles, and it's easy to show a chart that looks like a hockey stick, but where's your beginning? What if you doubled the time frame? What if you 10x the time frame? Okay. And these are the types of things that are never discussed in the mainstream media. And anyone that tries to discuss them, and I guess this is a test case, they're labeled as a climate change denier and this and that. And all we're doing is asking questions. I'm not denying anything. I'm asking a question. Why can we not talk about a further timescale? When someone shows me a 1-year chart, okay, what's your point? What's a 10-year look like? Give me the inception to date, right? I want to see everything. The more we can see, the more we can understand about something.
Right, especially when you're talking about finance, you're talking about cycles, of ups and downs and how, it's gonna affect, different types of things like interest rates and everything else. That makes sense.
Right, but also, the cycles are the one thing that we see all throughout life, whether it's professionally in finance or whether it's our heartbeats, whether it's Mother Nature in our seasonal patterns, um, whether it's our circadian rhythm during the day. And so, the one thing that seems to be true and constant throughout most paradigms is the fact of cyclicality. Things happen in cycles. There's not a lot of straight lines.
That's true, definitely. And I know another thing which is an energy consumer and something that's, growing, at, like, an exponential, rate is the AI, technology. And there was a story too that is saying that the AI boom and how it's likely to fuel kind of a Wild West era, that Dallas-based Texas Pacific Land Corporation, they saw, incredible stock profits, and that has something to do with a trust, right, that's in Texas?
It's a very old trust, and this trust owns a lot of land. And the land is valuable. Well, first of all, it's valuable now, and the story is, of course, about the great jump in value. But before it jumped in value, it was depressed for a while, and that has to do with the fact that um, there's not much out there, right? Except for what? Natural gas, cheap natural gas. And so I think what's happening is that as people understand that AI is here to stay and we're at the tip of the iceberg and it consumes so much energy, massive amounts of energy, and this energy must be produced. And so, what's the long term plan? So, I think the fact that they have tons of land out there, it's in a very business friendly state like Texas, and there's natural gas that you can use to build your utilities and put your data centers next to the utilities. Why? Well, it's cheaper to get the energy across.
And that will help. Will that help the state of Texas overall as well as far as utilities and other things in the future?
Absolutely. You know what? And I hope that people are listening. You know what they should do? They should do futures now that gambling is legal and now that we have a very sophisticated derivative market, right? I mean, look, full disclosure, I bet money that Donald Trump would be again the next president. So that was a nice little win too, was personally and professionally. But I digress. My point is this: if there were a thing called futures in state specific GDPs, I would love that. And you would see Texas and Florida um, futures be rising because the future is very bright for the states of Texas and Florida.
And some of the reasons are going to be probably what the regulatory situation, just the taxes, what other things, just being more friendly towards businesses in general.
So it's a good point. So it's going to be mostly a continuation of what we have been seeing before, as people were trying to and continue to try to escape states that don't understand business, states that don't reward uh, productivity, ingenuity, and make it more difficult to do research, technology, to build, and to buy. And that's only part of it. The other part is there's gonna be an acceleration. I think there's been a pent-up demand. Markets don't like uncertainty, and the election that we had recently, there was so much uncertainty about it, right? I mean, depending on what channel you were watching or what, talking head you were listening to, hopefully you were listening to us because we got it right. But a lot of them got it so wrong, and it was almost sad and somewhat silly, to look at the confidence they had in their dead wrong predictions. But, I think that there is a certain, um, let's say, tunnel vision that that happens when you do not open your mind up to opposing viewpoints. And that's something that you can never do as a money manager, as a fiduciary. And I would say, just um, as an open-minded person, as someone who wants to protect themselves from untruths.
Right, you have to kinda keep it open. It takes, like, a little bit of input from everybody. You wanna hear all sides so you can come up with the best plan moving forward. I think that's where we've kind of steered wrong in a lot of ways, but I know, Texas is it's they're making news in a lot of ways too, but I know Trump, Texas is going to, give land. They're giving land towards, and this is gonna be for, when they start with, trying to, oh my gosh, I'm, like, having a block.
No, to help with the immigration crisis,
Yeah, they
right?
when
In other
Texas is gonna
words,
start helping with the immigration situation, they are going to, give land to Trump. I guess they're gonna donate, a certain amount of land. Now, what is this now, I know some people are not they're saying it's gonna be like a I've heard in the past, like, it's a concentration camp. It's gonna be like something that's negative and that type of thing. But what I mean, we do have to have a place, just like Guantanamo Bay or different things, we have to have a place to process, find out who's here, and do all those things. So what is how is this gonna be important, basically?
sure, and so, one is, yeah, you're gonna definitely hear the media make those comparisons, but to your point, yes, we do need a place, and we already have places like that, right? If something bad happens, you go to the police department. Sometimes you did something bad, sometimes somebody else did something bad to you, you still go to the police department, right? And we need to do more policing because there's not been enough policing done recently, right? And not only recently, more than recently, right? Because it's not just the immigration issue, but there was the defund the police issue prior to that. And so we have had these systemic failures over more than one administration, and things that have not only grown but exponentially grown. And we have to do something, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a negative, right? Because here's what is negative: the child trafficking, right? The violence. I read a statistic, I think 30% of the females that are crossing through the borders experience some sort of sexual abuse. So I would say that that's what we got to solve. So if that means that we need to put up some fences and they have to wait in line for a few hours, we used to call that a ball game or a concert. Now it's not going to be a ball game for them. It's not going to be a concert, but it's going to protect them, some of them, and most of us. And that is the job of our government.
Exactly. I know I think they found it was a small child too at the border abandoned. That was another story that was recently out, but the children are another one that's, being affected. So, yeah, I definitely agree, and they need to so it's just gonna be a place where they can start doing more of, like, the checks and balances, seeing who's coming in, are they supposed to be here, that type of thing, so we can start really getting this under control. And
So,
also Oh, go ahead.
well, I just want to mention, because it's something that I'm glad you brought up, and a lot of other people are not bringing it up. But just today, I saw a video of a 10-year-old boy who was abandoned, and I think it was just last week there was a 6-year-old girl also abandoned. What's happening is, after they take advantage of them, they leave them. Why do they do that? Because they know they won't survive. So for them, it's that the victim or the eyewitness won't survive. It's evil. It's evil in every sense of the word. And the fact that all Texas is trying to do is help President Trump execute the law that was already in place before, that every major nation and even minor nation would want, which is, you must have. Otherwise, what's the point of having a nation if you don't have a border? Then it's just, merge with the other one. The last thing that any real American wants to do is merge with Justin Trudeau's country. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and I know AI too is supposed to Trump had mentioned something about AI is going to play a role in the immigration process as well. They're thinking that that can aid in helping them, just with doing the intakes and being able to kind of do the job that they have at hand.
100% agree. And I think Palantir is going to do a lot to once again help the country. Palantir gets a bad rap. Maybe it deserves part of it. I don't. I'm not on the board. I'm a shareholder, and I've been rewarded as such, and so have my investors. At the same time, they might have a lot of information that that makes some people feel uncomfortable. But as far as I know, I think they helped locate Osama bin Laden, and I think it'll be a lot easier to locate these dangerous illegal aliens, which is, I think, where they're going to start.
Right.
As
That makes sense. And so other than that, what do you think happening on the finance horizon? I heard also that, the startups, IPOs, especially in the tech sector, are you seeing growth in that area?
we are not only seeing it, but we're seeing a rejuvenation. Um, there's a lot of optimism, not just in the consumer environment, which you've seen a lot of numbers already, but also in small business and in big business, especially on the startup scene. So, what's happening is a lot of funds, ours included, and a lot of investors, a lot of businesses have a lot of what we call dry powder or cash on the sidelines or available liquidity, and that liquidity, that cash is going to get put to work very shortly. So I think that we're going to see an M&A boom. We're going to see a lot more merger and acquisition activity. We're going to see a lot more startup activity. We're going to see a lot of long-term investment, and that's what this country needs. And so I'm really excited about that.
Well, anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up, the show today?
Um Just, I'm thankful, to be an American, to be alive, to be your guest, I'm thankful for our audience. I'm thankful for my assistant, Julia, my beautiful dog, Raven, my family, my friends, and it's a great time to be alive, to be an American, and to be an investor.